Honda, aimed to achieve carbon neutrality by 2050 and is planned to driving widespread adoption of EV. Honda isn't just entering the clean energy game. They're flipping the whole board with their new 2025 hydrogen-powered engine. The company is challenging everything we thought we knew about electric vehicles. Their CEO says this engine could destroy the EV industry. And honestly, after seeing what it can do, that might not be an exaggeration. Let's break down why this changes everything. Honda's silent revolution. Honda's story doesn't begin with fancy tech or luxury cars. It begins with survival. Right after World War II, Soichiro Honda was simply trying to get from point A to point B without much money or fuel. So he strapped a tiny engine onto a bicycle. That homemade contraption might not have turned heads, but it sparked something huge. From that humble moment, Honda rapidly evolved. Motorcycles came next, and they didn't just function, they dominated. Honda bikes started breaking records and winning races, proving that Japanese machines could stand toe-to-toe with the West's best. That reputation for precision and performance became the brand's backbone. When Honda turned to cars, it brought that same spirit of innovation. Their engines were light, smooth, reliable, and somehow fun. Drivers loved how they felt behind the wheel. Over the decades, that trust never faded. Today, Honda is the largest engine manufacturer on Earth. If it has a motor, there's a good chance Honda built it. Whether it's a motorcycle, lawnmower, private jet, or even a Formula One race car, this reputation turned Honda into a household name. Selling over 4 million vehicles annually, they now stand as the 7th largest automaker in the world. But their success has never just been about quantity. It's about how they build. Smart, steady, and ahead of the curve. Now, as the automotive world buzzes with electric hype, Honda has quietly introduced something that doesn't follow the standard EV script. Their new powertrain technology doesn't need traditional charging or gasoline. It's designed to operate cleaner, longer, and possibly better than electric cars, all without being a fully electric vehicle. What exactly is this new technology? Honda's latest CR-V is powered by a next-generation hybrid hydrogen engine, a setup that uses hydrogen to generate electricity on the go, essentially making it a self-charging powerhouse. No waiting for hours at charging stations and no carbon emissions like traditional engines. It's like having the convenience of petrol with the cleanliness of electricity, without their biggest downsides. As the industry shifts toward battery dependency, Honda's move feels almost rebellious. But sometimes, innovation doesn't follow the crowd. It leads ahead of it. And right now, Honda may have just stepped into the future before anyone else realized the rules were about to change. Take a look at the Honda Accord, one of the most trusted names in the car world. In just the first half of 2017, over 161,000 units were sold in the US alone. That number isn't a fluke. People buy Hondas because they've earned a reputation for one thing: they don't let you down. Whether it's someone's first car or their fifth, Honda keeps showing up year after year without fuss or failure. But it's not just about dependability. Honda has a long history of staying ahead, sometimes way ahead. Back in the 1970s, when the US slapped on stricter emissions rules, Honda wasn't scrambling to catch up. They were leading with their revolutionary CVCC engine, something no one else had. That move didn't just meet regulations, it set a new standard. Then came the VTEC system, another flex. It gave small engines the muscle and power delivery of much bigger ones, changing how compact cars were seen. While others were trying to go big, Honda made smart feel powerful. They didn't stop there. They were one of the first to bring hybrids to the US, showing the world that eco-friendly didn't have to mean boring. With the insight, they made green feel fresh, even cool, for the first time. Fast forward to today, and while the world is obsessed with electric vehicles, Honda is taking a totally different path. No, it's not another hybrid. And no, it's not a traditional electric car either. What Honda is working on now doesn't quite fit into any of those categories. Instead of following the herd, Honda is once again betting on a different kind of future. They're bringing hydrogen back into the spotlight. But this isn't some vague concept or science fair project. They're already building it into their latest CR-V. Yes, a hydrogen-powered CR-V is happening, and it's aiming to do what EVs still struggle with. Hydrogen offers fast refueling, long range, and zero emissions, all without needing hours of charging or massive battery packs. Honda isn't just making an eco-friendly car. They're creating a self-charging hybrid hydrogen model that could potentially leapfrog the entire EV category. So, why would Honda, a company already dominating the engine game, take such a massive swing at something so uncertain? Because they've always believed that engines aren't dead. They just need to evolve. Honda sees a future where combustion isn't replaced but reimagined, and that brings us to their current CEO, who confidently believes that their next-gen CR-V could shake up the EV landscape. In his eyes, it's the beginning of something that could rewrite what people expect from cars. While most automakers are busy chasing the same finish line, Honda's already taking a turn that might lead to a brand new road altogether. Hydrogen might not be trendy right now, but then again, true innovation rarely is. How EVs took over so fast. To get people off petrol, authorities dangled serious incentives, tax breaks, rebates, and bonus points for looking environmentally woke. Some countries even slapped a countdown clock on gas and diesel cars, planning to ban them entirely within the next decade or so. Suddenly, electricity wasn't only a trend, it was a government-approved lifestyle choice. And to be fair, electric vehicles were delivered. Battery tech improved, charging speeds got better, and once people stopped being weirded out by the silence of an EV, they actually wanted one. Sales exploded. Tesla was the blueprint, and every other car company jumped on the bandwagon: Ford, Hyundai, BMW, you name it. But here's the thing. Beneath the glossy touchscreens and whisper-quiet motors, there's a mess that no one talks about enough. EVs have a dark side, and it's buried under the batteries. First off, batteries don't last forever. They degrade just like the one in your phone, except this one weighs half a ton and costs thousands to replace. They're also loaded with rare earth elements like lithium and cobalt, which don't exactly come from a magical, sustainable fairyland. Mining them is a dirty business, often done in poor countries with awful working conditions and brutal environmental damage. Then there's the issue of disposal. What do you do with an EV battery when it dies? Recycling options are still catching up, and in many places they just pile up. Huge, toxic electronic bricks waiting to rot. Even the everyday experience of owning an EV isn't as flawless as the ads would have you believe. Sure, charging at home overnight is convenient, until it's not. Fast charging stations aren't everywhere, and even when they are, you can still be stuck waiting half an hour or more to get enough juice to keep moving. Electric cars might be the golden child of green transport, but they're not perfect. And now, with the rise of hydrogen technology quietly making waves, some are beginning to wonder if we crowned the king too early. But here's where things get a little less shiny. The upfront cost of electric cars is still high. Even with government tax breaks, electric vehicles can seriously dent your wallet. And sure, plugging in at home seems affordable, until everyone starts doing it. If millions of people charge their EVs at once, electricity prices could spike, and suddenly your cheap ride starts to look expensive again. On the surface, EVs look like the obvious answer. But when you scratch beyond the headlines, things start to feel a little off. It's not just about swapping petrol for electricity, it's about creating a solution that's actually clean and sustainable from start to finish. Right now, EVs risk shifting the problem rather than solving it. Mining for rare earth metals like lithium and cobalt, managing massive battery waste, and struggling with slow charge times and power grid limitations. None of that screams final solution. While most automakers are sprinting down the EV path, Honda takes a left turn. They've decided not to chase the crowd, but to carve their own route. One that doesn't rely on lithium mines, doesn't require hours of charging, and doesn't produce a giant hunk of waste once the battery dies. And Honda's answer is hydrogen, not electricity, not petrol, something in between. A fuel so light it's literally the first element on the periodic table. When used, its only byproduct is water. No smog, no carbon emissions, no awkward battery graves. And the twist? Honda isn't new to this game. They were experimenting with hydrogen long before it became a trending hashtag. In 2015, Honda rolled out a car that looked like it had driven straight out of 2050. It was called the Clarity Fuel Cell Vehicle, or Clarity FCV, and it didn't run on petrol. It also didn't plug into your wall like a Tesla. Instead, it used a hydrogen fuel cell that converted gas into electricity on the go, powering the car with nothing but water dripping out the tailpipe. It was quiet, clean, and honestly ahead of its time. But the Clarity never made it big. The world just wasn't ready. Hydrogen fueling stations were few and far between, and EVs were suddenly getting all the attention. So the Clarity disappeared, quietly shelved, like a good idea that came a little too early. Now, as cracks in the electric revolution start to show, Honda's early bet on hydrogen doesn't look so crazy after all. In fact, it might just be the reset button the auto industry didn't know it needed. When Honda revealed the Clarity fuel cell to the world at the Tokyo Motor Show, it didn't just show off a new car, it made a bold statement. Here was Japan's first hydrogen-powered vehicle available for public sale, and it looked like something out of a sci-fi movie. But this wasn't just a regular sedan with a fancy fuel system squeezed in. Honda had built the Clarity from scratch, designed solely to run on hydrogen. Built different, on purpose. The engineering behind the Clarity was anything but ordinary. Honda used wave flow technology inside the fuel cell stack, pushing hydrogen through more efficiently and generating more power with less waste. It wasn't just smart, it was elegant. The fuel cells were smaller than ever, neatly placed, and packed more punch than anything Honda had built before. The result is a clean, reliable ride that could go the distance, literally. On a full tank of hydrogen, the Clarity could drive up to 360 miles. That was more than what most electric vehicles could offer at the time. It delivered an impressive 88 miles per gallon equivalent, and the only thing it released into the air was water vapor. No fumes, no noise, just smooth, silent movement. It felt like Honda had cracked the code to clean driving. Despite its tech-forward design and game-changing potential, the Clarity didn't become the icon Honda had hoped for. And it wasn't because the car failed to perform. The real problem was infrastructure, or the lack of it. Hydrogen fueling stations were painfully rare. Outside of California or a few select cities in Japan, finding a place to refuel was like going on a scavenger hunt. People didn't feel confident taking it on long trips. They weren't sure if they'd make it to the next station. And when it comes to cars, range anxiety is a deal breaker. No one wants to sit behind the wheel and second-guess their every mile. As exciting as the Clarity was, it became clear that a great car can still flop if the world isn't ready to support it. People were already trying to understand how electric vehicles worked. Then came hydrogen, and it felt like someone had thrown in a chemistry quiz. The technology sounded too complex, almost like it belonged in a lab, not a driveway. While electric vehicles had simple instructions, plug in, charge, and go, hydrogen cars came with a layer of mystery. And let's be honest, anything that sounds even slightly explosive doesn't help calm nerves. By the time the Clarity hit the roads, EVs were already the talk of the town. Celebrities were showing them off like red carpet accessories. Charging stations were popping up next to malls, gyms, even burger joints. Governments were practically throwing incentives at buyers. Tax rebates, cashbacks, lower registration fees. The infrastructure for electric cars was being built fast, and the momentum was hard to beat. Fuel cell vehicles didn't get the same kind of love. There were fewer tax perks, and definitely less marketing muscle. While Tesla was grabbing headlines with wild unveilings and waiting lists, hydrogen cars were left quietly parked in the background. Most people didn't even know where they could test drive one. And without visibility, even a great car can disappear from the conversation. Despite being a futuristic beast on the inside, the Clarity never found its place in the market. In 2021, Honda pulled the plug, not just on the Clarity fuel cell, but on its plug-in hybrid and battery electric versions too. It wasn't because the Clarity failed as a machine, it was because the ecosystem around it never caught up. The timing was just off. Still, Honda didn't walk away empty-handed. They got something more valuable than sales: experience. Clarity proved one undeniable fact: hydrogen fuel cell vehicles work. The science was solid. The problem wasn't with the car, it was with everything around it. After stepping back, Honda did something smart. They didn't force the hydrogen dream down anyone's throat. Instead, they observed. They let the EV wave run wild, and they quietly took notes. All the while, they were working behind the scenes, refining the tech, watching market trends, and waiting for the right moment to strike again. And now, that moment might be coming back around. You're not going solo. Honda's next hydrogen chapter involves a powerful partnership, and they're not just reviving old ideas, they're rewriting the script. The Clarity was Honda's bold hydrogen experiment, but now they're coming back with something smarter, stronger, and most importantly, familiar. Instead of reinventing the wheel, they've chosen a crowd favorite to carry their new vision: the CR-V. And this isn't just about adding a twist. It's a calculated return with the potential to rattle the entire electric vehicle scene. The familiar face with a secret: this next-gen SUV looks like your everyday CR-V on the outside. Reliable, spacious, just what a family car should be. But under the hood, it's playing an entirely different game. No gas engine, no plug-in battery. This version runs on hydrogen alone. Sitting neatly in the back are two high-pressure fuel tanks, and tucked beneath the seats is a smart power unit that quietly takes care of everything, from smooth acceleration to safety systems. Honda's teamed up with General Motors this time, and it shows. The tech is cleaner, more efficient, and solves nearly all the problems that held the Clarity back. Think of it as Clarity's cooler, smarter, glow-up sibling. Only now it comes with better genes and actual backup. Here's where things start to heat up. Unlike electric vehicles that need to be plugged in and left alone for hours, the CR-V hydrogen SUV keeps it moving. Its fuel cell doesn't just store energy, it creates it right as you drive. Through a controlled process, hydrogen and oxygen combine to generate instant electricity. The results are zero emissions, no wait time, and enough power to take on any long trip without range anxiety. And the only thing that comes out of the exhaust is water vapor. Honda didn't stop at mobility. They built in a feature that takes this SUV from useful to borderline genius. The CR-V hydrogen SUV can power external devices. Yes, really. In a blackout or emergency, this car can keep your house running or your phone charged. It's like having your own mini power plant, ready to kick in when the grid gives up. By building all this tech into something people already trust and recognize, Honda isn't just bringing hydrogen back, they're making it make sense. When power goes out and the world feels a little too quiet, this CR-V isn't just a car, it becomes your lifeline. Honda built something that quietly steps in when things get messy. It can power your home, charge your essentials, and keep life moving even when the grid gives up. And somehow, they managed to do all this without taking away what made people love the CR-V in the first place. Despite the futuristic tech packed inside, the CR-V still feels like a CR-V. It's spacious, family-friendly, and easy on the eyes. The hydrogen setup doesn't mess with the design or compromise cabin space. There are no weird bulges, no bulky tanks taking over the trunk. Everything is integrated so well, it doesn't scream science project. It just feels natural. That's kind of the whole point. Make the advanced tech invisible. Make it normal. Honda clearly understands that pushing hydrogen everywhere all at once won't work, so they're starting small, but smart. The rollout begins in California and Japan, two regions that already have hydrogen stations in place. Drivers there get to experience this new era without constantly worrying about where to refuel. It's a slow burn, but a strategic one. While other automakers are in a frenzy, trying to make faster charges, bigger batteries, and fighting over rare minerals, Honda quietly sidesteps the chaos. No huge campaign, no flashy announcement, just smart timing and smarter partnerships. They're placing hydrogen tech in regions where it actually has a shot and waiting for the rest of the world to catch up. This quiet confidence might just be what makes Honda's move so dangerous to the EV market. Because while others are promising the future, Honda is already handing people the keys. If this version of the CR-V is already this capable, what happens when Honda puts the same hydrogen system in its other models, the Accord, the Civic, maybe even minivans or trucks? That's when things really start to get interesting. For years, hydrogen stayed in the shadows, not because the science was flawed, but because there weren't enough places to refuel. That was the only thing slowing it down. Now the infrastructure is finally starting to catch up. California is adding more hydrogen stations. Japan is going even harder with its hydrogen roadmap. Europe and South Korea are not far behind. The timing is no accident. Honda didn't wait around because they were unsure. They waited because they were ready. And now it looks like hydrogen might finally be getting its moment in the spotlight, this time in a vehicle people already want. The moment drivers realized they couldn't actually fuel their hydrogen cars, everything started to fall apart. The clarity. Honda's earlier hydrogen effort didn't fail because of bad engineering. It failed because no one knew where to fill it up. The tech was there. The hype was real. But without stations, the whole plan crumbled. That used to be the story. Not anymore. Hydrogen finds its ground. Today, hydrogen stations are finally popping up across the U.S. California is leading the charge, but it's not just a West Coast experiment anymore. Other states are watching closely, ready to jump in. Japan, meanwhile, has already made hydrogen part of its national energy strategy. Germany is aggressively building refueling stations, especially for long-haul trucks. And China, home to the largest car market on the planet, is silently funneling billions into hydrogen infrastructure. They're preparing fleets of hydrogen-powered buses, taxis, and trucks. Electric vehicles are everywhere. People love them. The media loves them. And governments are throwing incentives at them. But the cracks are starting to show. Power grids are getting overwhelmed. In some places, officials have already told people to stop charging EVs during peak hours. Why? Because the grid can't take the heat. And then there's the battery problem. EVs rely on rare materials like lithium and cobalt, both expensive, difficult to mine, and devastating to extract. There's only so much to go around. And as demand increases, we're quickly approaching a supply and demand nightmare. Add in the questionable recycling efforts and rising costs, and suddenly, the clean image of electric vehicles starts to look a little smudged. Hydrogen skips those problems entirely. No grid overload, no rare minerals, no mining mess, just clean energy, generated from sunlight and water, transformed into motion. This process, known as green hydrogen, means you can run a car using nothing but sunshine and H2O. No dirty air, no waiting in line at a charger, and no need to rip apart the planet just to build a battery. For Honda, this isn't just about where the fuel comes from. It's about what happens under the hood. And when it comes to engines, Honda has always spoken that language fluently. From tiny scooters to rev-happy race cars, they didn't just make engines, they perfected them. But now that the world is moving away from gas, Honda is ready to speak a new kind of engine language, one powered by hydrogen. And diesel, that old-school engine mastery, faces a huge question. What does engine performance mean in a post-petrol world? But Honda's ambitions don't stop with a single SUV or one partnership. Back in Japan, they've joined forces with other major players, Toyota, Mazda, Subaru, and even Yamaha, for a game-changing alliance. This group is working on low-emission internal combustion engines that run on a new generation of clean fuels, including biofuel, hydrogen, and even ammonia. They're not here to cancel electric vehicles. That's not the mission. What they want is to make sure that clean energy doesn't come in just one flavor. In places where the grid can't keep up or where battery charging simply doesn't make sense, these advanced combustion engines could be the answer. And Honda wants to be ready for every one of those scenarios. The era of loud, dirty engines might be winding down, but Honda's story with engines? That chapter is just getting interesting. Let's talk about the elephant in the garage. Can Honda's hydrogen-powered CR-V really shake up the electric vehicle scene? It sounds bold, maybe even a bit dramatic, but side by side, the differences are tough to ignore. First, there's the painful reality of EV charging. Even with fast chargers, most electric cars take anywhere from 30 minutes to several hours to get back to full. That's fine if you're parked at home overnight, but not so great if you're in a rush or stuck mid-road trip. Meanwhile, the hydrogen CR-V takes just 3 to 5 minutes to refuel, roughly the same time as topping up a petrol tank. That kind of speed is a knockout punch. Next up is range. A typical EV can travel between 200 and 300 miles on a full charge. The hydrogen-powered CR-V? It's closer to 400 miles. That extra 100 miles might not sound massive, but for drivers with long commutes, road trippers, or folks who don't have time to babysit a charger, it's a game changer. Let's not forget emissions. Yes, EVs are clean when they run, no tailpipe emissions, no smog. But the hydrogen CR-V doesn't just match that. It goes a step further. Instead of depending on massive lithium batteries, it uses a fuel cell that generates electricity on the go and emits nothing but water vapor. That means it's still zero emission, without all the environmental baggage of battery mining and disposal. No cobalt, no lithium extraction nightmares. Just energy made cleanly and used instantly. Now, let's be real. EVs do have the upper hand when it comes to infrastructure. Charging stations are more common, and many people can plug in at home. Hydrogen stations, on the other hand, are still limited. Although places like California, Germany, Japan, and China are pushing ahead rapidly. These locations are investing in hydrogen fueling networks, and momentum is clearly building. But hydrogen stations don't overload the power grid the way EV chargers can. They refuel quickly and efficiently, and they don't require hours of continuous electricity draw. In a world where energy demand is already maxing out, that's a major bonus. Finally, there's the matter of what powers all this. EVs rely on batteries made from rare earth elements, resources that are expensive, environmentally damaging to mine, and often ethically questionable in their sourcing. Hydrogen fuel cells don't need any of that. They bypass the mining mess entirely and offer a cleaner, more sustainable path forward. The disruptor nobody saw coming. Something big is happening, and no one's really shouting about it yet. While most car makers are tweaking what already exists, Honda has quietly stepped off the beaten path. Instead of joining the EV arms race with oversized batteries and longer charging cables, they've taken a riskier, bolder route: hydrogen. Not in some futuristic, spaceship-looking prototype either, but in the ever-reliable, family-friendly CR-V. Electric cars sounded like a dream until people started living with them. Charging delays, limited range, expensive electricity bills, and concerns about battery lifespan have all started chipping away at the hype. Sure, the roads are getting more electric, but they're also filled with drivers silently praying their battery won't die before the next charger appears. That's why alternatives like hybrids, plug-in hybrids, and now hydrogen are getting serious side attention. What Honda's doing fits into a much larger global play. It's not just about dethroning EVs, it's about rethinking clean energy as a whole. Toyota, for example, is experimenting with ammonia in Japan. It doesn't get talked about as much, but it's powerful, burns cleanly, and can be used in adapted combustion engines. Toyota sees it as a great option for heavy-duty vehicles where hydrogen and batteries might fall short. China may dominate EV sales, but it's already looking beyond them. To cut down on oil imports and clear up polluted cities, China is eyeing both hydrogen and ammonia, especially for freight and industrial transport. Meanwhile, South Korea is getting creative. Researchers have developed a dual fuel engine that runs on petrol and ammonia, cutting carbon emissions by up to 70%. It's not perfect, but it shows that old engines can be upgraded instead of scrapped. What if this isn't a battle between fuels, but a tag team? Hydrogen is lightweight and ideal for cars, buses, and vehicles that need to be refueled quickly. Ammonia, with its energy density and storage advantages, could be better for ships, trucks, and industries that haul heavy loads over long distances. Together, they present a bigger, smarter path forward, if we can figure out the logistics. The reality check is that hydrogen and ammonia both suffer from limited infrastructure. Fuel cell vehicles are still more expensive than gas-powered or even electric cars. These costs will drop over time, but right now, they're keeping the technology out of reach for most drivers. Plus, there's a knowledge gap. A lot of people still think hydrogen cars are dangerous or that they're just a flashy tech demo. That kind of misunderstanding can stall progress more than any government regulation. If hydrogen is going to be the green hero it claims to be, it needs to come from clean sources: wind, solar, hydro, not fossil fuels. That's called green hydrogen, and it's the version that actually lives up to the environmental promises. Making sure the hydrogen supply is clean is just as important as the tech itself. So while everyone's been busy plugging in and powering up, Honda quietly slipped hydrogen into the conversation. This is about reshaping the game board entirely, whether it's hydrogen pushing EVs to improve or ammonia sneaking in with its own clean energy flex. One thing's clear: the future isn't a one-lane road. It's a full-blown highway with hybrids, electric, hydrogen, ammonia, and maybe even a few surprises no one's thought of yet. And if this is what the future looks like, let's just say things are about to get very interesting. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to our channels.